This is Carlton with London Tonight in 10 minutes. First, the night's main news from ITN.
From the studios of ITN, the news with Nicholas Owen.
Good evening, welcome to the programme. The headlines: Ulster's peaceful start to the marching season, but warnings of trouble ahead. And Arsenal closer than ever to the Premiership top spot after crushing Blackburn. The first potential flashpoint after Northern Ireland's historic peace settlement passed without trouble today. A loyalist apprentice boys parade avoided areas where there has been serious violence before, and there were no confrontations. The RUC Chief Constable Ronnie Flanagan said there could still be tremendous disorder in the weeks ahead. Our Ireland correspondent John Irvine reports.
The marching season is once again underway. Today there was a loyalist demonstration in the mainly Protestant town of Ballymena. There are hundreds of parades each summer, and this one, like the vast majority, was non-contentious. Earlier in South Belfast, however, some loyalists reluctantly accepted that they were not allowed to march through a mainly Catholic area. The RUC commended the loyalists, but warned there was still scope for tremendous disorder in the weeks ahead. And it's not only contentious marches that threaten stability. A Republican splinter group was responsible for this recent explosion in Portadown. Dissident terrorists on both sides tried to wreck the peace process in the run-up to Friday's settlement, and the Chief Constable expects more attacks.
They will probably increase their determination to wreak as much havoc as they can, to continue with acts of terrorism, and we must do all that we can to see that their intentions are thwarted.
Across Northern Ireland, there's still a fair amount of cynicism about what Friday's peace settlement will lead to. People are wondering, can the compromises evident here at Stormont be emulated on the streets? John Irvine, ITN, Stormont.
The chairman of the peace talks, Senator George Mitchell, returned to brief President Clinton in Washington today. Senator Mitchell told Mr. Clinton the deal couldn't have been achieved without him. The President indicated his willingness to go to Northern Ireland to help promote the agreement. Tens of thousands of people have been counting the cost of a miserable Easter holiday, struggling against flooding. Some insurance experts say they expect claims for damage to be among the highest on record. Linda Kennedy reports from Peterborough.
Across the Midlands, people came home today to find thousands of pounds of damage. This man salvaged what he could, but with little success.
It's a crisis which I think probably we can handle.
The water is still high, but panic is subsiding. The local river, the Nene, is swollen, but should go no higher. One woman who lives on the bank told me her fear has turned to anger that so much has been destroyed.
We understood that the houses had been built 7 feet above the last flood level, and so we just didn't even dream that this could possibly happen.
And it won't be remembered as a vintage year for a hotel owner in the village of Wansford. The insurance claim for a ruined wine cellar will be part of a total assessors now believe could rival the £1.2 billion cost of the 1987 hurricane. Tonight, many in the Midlands have two hopes: that the water level will quickly go down and their insurance companies will soon pay up, so they can forget this, one of their worst Easter weekends on record. Linda Kennedy, ITN, in Peterborough.
The Education Secretary, David Blunkett, was jeered today as he addressed the National Union of Teachers annual conference. He told delegates that threats of industrial action would only hurt children's education and said the government's literacy campaign and other policies were non-negotiable. Richard Branson said today that he would dedicate his next balloon flight to Alex Ritchie, his co-pilot who has died following a parachuting accident. Last year, Mr. Ritchie climbed outside their balloon during a round-the-world attempt and saved them from disaster. Lauren Taylor reports.
Engineer Alex Ritchie was hailed as a hero when he saved the lives of Richard Branson and Per Lindstrand during their 1997 attempt to fly around the world in a balloon. As the craft was plummeting to Earth, he clambered onto the roof of the capsule to release fuel tanks by hand, allowing it to rise again. It was during emergency training for another trip 3 months ago that Alex Ritchie's parachute failed to open properly, leaving him severely injured. He died in hospital yesterday. Today, Richard Branson paid tribute to the friend who saved him.
Per and I are going to be forever incredibly grateful to him for that. And he's also a magnificent engineer. I mean, he built the capsule that we hope will take us around the world later this year, and obviously we'll be doing the flight very much in Alex's memory.
His family said he never gave up his fight to survive and had even hoped to recover in time to join that next attempt. Lauren Taylor, ITN.
Sir Ian McGregor, the chairman of the National Coal Board during the bitter 1980s miners' strike, has died after suffering a heart attack. He was 85. Sir Ian was called a butcher by enemies like Arthur Scargill, but to Margaret Thatcher's Conservative government he was regarded as a saviour of British industry. President Yeltsin's raised the stakes in his showdown with the Russian parliament over his choice of Prime Minister. Mr Yeltsin, who's already threatened to dissolve the parliament, today told his opponents there will be no other candidate. Adrian Britton reports from Moscow.
Sergei Kiriyenko on Russian television attempting to toughen up his image. The Prime Minister-designate is dismissed by Parliament as a political featherweight. But President Yeltsin, who today met his protégé, appeared to be warning that he would dissolve the State Duma if members failed to approve Kiriyenko.
They know their president. There'll be no other candidate. I've nominated him and I'll stand to the last.
The State Duma has already rejected the president's choice. This week they will vote again.
We doesn't want this person. We would like another chairman of Russian government. I would like military government.
While Yeltsin's defiant stance appears to put him on course for a showdown with his lawmakers, Parliament may be delaying their approval of Kiriyenko in order to extract concessions from the president. Much will depend on who he appoints as his government ministers. Adrian Britton, ITN, Moscow.
Now football. Arsenal are breathing down Manchester United's neck at the top of the Premiership after they demolished Blackburn at Ewood Park. They did it with 4 unforgiving goals. Tonight, Arsenal are looking more and more like potential champions. Here's our sports correspondent, Graham Miller.
It's the double that Arsenal fans are getting dressed up for. The Gunners have already reached the cup final. Who's to stop them in the league? Not Blackburn. Dennis Bergkamp, back after a 3-match suspension, needed just 75 seconds to score Arsenal's first goal. A wonderful strike from the players' Player of the Year. But it got better. Bergkamp involved again, this time setting up Ray Parlour. Another difficult angle, another great goal. Blackburn was stunned. It meant no one picked up Bergkamp. Good save, but there was Parlour, his second, Arsenal's third, in 14 minutes. Easter, more like Christmas for Arsenal. Winterburn found Nicholas Anelka, and the teenager, who's standing in for the injured Ian Wright, had the confidence to dummy the keeper before hammering in Arsenal's goal number 4. Second half and even the weather turned festive, but it was Blackburn's turn to celebrate. Kevin Gallagher got one back. But this was a full Monty performance from Arsenal, a championship showing. Graham Miller, ITN Sport.
So this is how the Premiership table looks tonight. Arsenal are now just a single point behind defending champions Manchester United, but they still have 2 games in hand. Meanwhile, at the other end, Newcastle moved away from the relegation zone after a 2-1 win over Barnsley. Everton and Spurs were held to draws, while Bolton and Crystal Palace lost. Finally, the animation stars Wallace and Gromit have won thousands of fans in recent years. Now they're even more popular in one particular corner of the Yorkshire Dales, and it's all because of their fondness for a nice bit of cheese. Philippa Young explains.
Have you been peckish during the night? Only someone's been at me cheese.
Well, as it turns out, there's no need for Wallace to lose any sleep tonight. Production of his favourite cheese is booming, and that's all down to the plasticine pair and their penchant for a nice piece of Wensleydale.
They've really just been very helpful and really raised the profile of Wensleydale cheese.
The creamery was written off 6 years ago, but has since practically doubled its workforce. It now produces 1,200 tonnes of Wensleydale every year, and that's expected to double by the year 2000.
Talking of which, all the more for us, and not a sheep to worry us.
Philippa Young, ITN, North Yorkshire.
Cheese. Get off! Get up! Gromit! Gromit! Go for him! Gromit!
That's it from ITN this Easter Monday evening. Goodbye.
Good evening. It looks like winter's well and truly arrived. Now it's the middle of April. In fact, this could well be the scene first thing tomorrow morning. In some cases, more snow on the way. In fact, these are the areas most at risk from disruption over the next 36 hours or so. Most of the snow up over the high ground, but not exclusively so. In fact, later on this evening and overnight, we'll see outbreaks of sleet and snow pushing across Wales, the West Country, into parts of the Midlands and southern England too. A couple of centimetres quite likely over the hills. Further north, a drier scene, a scattering of wintry showers, mostly up in the far northeast of Scotland. A widespread frost inland as low as -3 in parts of Scotland. So tomorrow morning, a cloudy scene in the south. Some rain near the south coast, but sleet and snow inland, giving a good covering in many places. Some improvement across Wales and the Midlands through the day. Some brightness, some sunshine further north too. Again, a scattering of wintry showers, but those showers merging again to give a longer spell of sleet and snow over the high ground of northeastern parts of Scotland in particular later on in the day. Temperatures, wow, look at them, 6s and 7s, nothing special. 7:45 Fahrenheit. That's it from me. I'll leave you with tomorrow's summary. Good night.
Power Gen, generating electricity whatever the weather.
Good evening, I'm Katie Haswell. This is London Tonight. The pop star George Michael has donated £50,000 to Capital Radio's Help a London Child appeal. Michael is still waiting to find out if prosecutors in America will press charges against him.
It's 11:24, right, there you go. M People, Fast Love George Michael, 50 grand, blimey, top man.
Putting the spin on a gift from George Michael, DJ Neil Fox, who took a call from the pop star's sister on air last night.
I was doing the chart at the time, which is obviously networked, so he didn't want to come on that. Just wanted to come on when we were just back on Capital and donate the money. He was going to get some kit, so he phoned his sister up and said, could she call me up and give us 50 grand?
The fact that George had time to spare a thought for London's children is something of a wonder. The pop star's private world has gone very public after being arrested for a sex act in a public toilet. The media went to town and he responded with a confessional TV appearance, admitting he'd been stupid and saying he was gay. But if that's dashed the hopes of 1,000 female fans, Foxy says they're not showing it.
We played quite a lot of George Michael songs. We did about 6 over the weekend, and they always raise a lot because George, is very popular. But they actually raised much more this year.
Cynics may say that George's generous donation is a way of grabbing a bit of good publicity at a time when the headlines about him are grim. Not so, says the charity. He's given before to Help a London Child, and he'll give again.
It's not the first time George Michael's helped out. I mean, in fact, he's been very loyal to Help a London Child over many years. I mean, he's very much been involved with Capital as a station ever since he was a little kid.
Well, now George is older, and after last week, maybe wiser. One thing looks sure, he's still a Londoner at heart. This is Gilly Parton for London Tonight.
It's been reported today that 5 white youths who were charged with murdering the Black London teenager Stephen Lawrence will voluntarily give evidence at the inquiry into his killing. The case against the 5 collapsed through lack of evidence. They later refused to answer questions at Stephen's inquest through fear of incriminating themselves. The family of 2 South London men who have been missing in the Mediterranean for 23 days say they're not giving up hope. The pair were last seen on board a powerboat off the coast of Spain.
Back from Spain after searching for her missing boyfriend, Lisa Higgins says she's baffled by Joseph Griffin's disappearance.
It doesn't seem real that a boat can leave a harbour and nobody can pinpoint it anywhere, sort of, from anywhere. It just doesn't seem right.
Joseph Griffin, a 47-year-old engineer, disappeared 3 weeks ago along with his cousin as they were working on a high-speed powerboat. They were taking the Champ Ice on a test run towards Morocco when they vanished without trace.
We just don't know what's happened. There's been no sign of the boats, no bodies, no wreckage, just nothing.
The Foreign Office says the search for the 2 missing Britons is ongoing. The British consulate in Spain and Morocco are also involved, and details of the missing pair have been circulated through Interpol. Lisa, whose baby is named after his father, miscarried with her second child when she heard of Joseph's disappearance. Her only hope now is for his safe return. In Surrey, this is Kate Harding for London Tonight.
Football now, and here are the results involving our local sides. Just to confirm, tonight's big game finished Blackburn 1, Arsenal 4. Liverpool 2, Crystal Palace 1, Sheffield Wednesday 1, West Ham 1, Tottenham 1, Coventry 1, Wimbledon 0, Everton 0. In the First Division, Port Vale 0, Charlton 1, Reading 0, Middlesbrough 1. In the second division, Watford secured promotion with the point they needed at Bristol City. Graham Taylor's side took the lead through Jason Lee on 64 minutes, and Bristol City equalised 4 minutes later, but the Hornets held on for the draw. And the rest of today's results: in Division 2, Blackpool 1, Brentford 2. As you've seen, it ended Bristol City 1, Watford 1, Fulham 5, Carlisle 0, Millwall 1, Plymouth 1, Oldham 0, Wycombe 1, Southend 0, Gillingham 0. And Division 3, Leyton Orient 2, Shrewsbury 3, Macclesfield 2, Barnet 0. That's it. We're back in the morning with bulletins in GMTV. Do hope you'll join us. Bye-bye.
Carlton weather, sponsored by Sea France, Dover-Calais Ferries.
Good evening. It's another cold night out there, a touch of frost in many cases. Now later on in the night, cloud will thicken from the west with outbreaks of sleet or snow turning up towards morning time. Most of the snow up over the high ground, giving a covering in a few places. So a fairly wintry scene first thing tomorrow. A lot of cloud around with outbreaks of rain, but a fair bit of sleet or snow around too. Pretty misty up over the high ground as well. Now through the day, improvements will be slow. The sleet or snow will gradually turn back to rain, and the rain will start to die away from the northwest, but a fairly grey scene throughout much of the day, and not very warm either. Temperatures no higher than, well, 5 or 6 Celsius, the mid-40s Fahrenheit, but at least the winds will be fairly light too. That's it from me. I'll leave you with tomorrow's weather summary. Good night.
For a more detailed 5-day outlook, call Weather Update, sponsored by Sea France.
Travel Update in association with Business Pages.
Hello, good evening. With it being the Easter holiday, lots of circuses around town. Firstly, Jerry Cottle's at Battersea Park, a family show with the European flavour. Also, the Moscow State Circus at Turnham Green, plus Zippo Circus at Blackheath Common, a blend of the traditional and the new. At the museums, there are special Easter activities at the Britain at War Experience in Tooley Street. Children can take part in dressing up sessions with wartime clothing, uniforms and gas masks. Roadworks that are most likely to prove troublesome include the M25 in Hertfordshire between junctions 23 and 24 and the M40 between junctions 3 and 1A. Finally, roadworks continue on Cranford High Street at its junction with the Parkway. That's it. Good night.
Travel Update with Business Pages, helping you to work.
This is the programme that gives you the variety. This is the programme that sets the agendas.
We give you the features, the show business, the light and the shade.
We deal with the issues that real people waking up in the morning want to hear about.